Mark. How are you doing?
I'm great. How's it going, Brian?
Good, good. I see you. I see you've got a Gap sweatshirt on.
I finally identified the gap. It's
Okay.
been eluding me, and I figured out where it was.
Okay. And it is where?
It's always me.
It is.
If any of you out there lead a team, if you're ever in doubt, start at yourself.
Absolutely.
You're the gap.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of our key things that we always teach is, start by looking in the mirror. It really does begin with us.
It's quite humbling to wear a Gap shirt, to work because everyone knows who the Gap is. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to talk today about one of our most simple, I think, but powerful concepts that we teach in our book. This is T times M equals P. So for those of you who have listened to our Gapology radio version of the show, you may be familiar with this, but for those of you who just have started watching us on YouTube on Gapology Guys, this might be something that's sort of new if you haven't read the book. But Mark, do you want to sort of kick us off here?
yeah, so don't be fooled by the simplicity of T times M equals P. I can assure you that it has changed my life and my career. Fair to say?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So it's an equation that suggests very accurately that talent times mindset equals performance. And we just go with 0 to 10, 0 to 10, and therefore 0 to 100. And we found it to be incredibly accurate. Um, we found it accidentally in a book called Beyond Change Management by Dean Anderson. And he just sort of referenced it in passing. It wasn't a chapter. It was just like, here's an equation we sort of use. And he's a very successful consultant. And we found it to be profound. And Brian and I have talked about literally writing a book about T times M equals P because it's that accurate and that um, incredibly focused for a leader in terms of where to go and how to do it. And I told Brian that when I learned T times M equals P, it changed my life and my career. And it was during a time when I was, finding Gapology and uncovering the A team versus the C team. And it came about at that time. And the most amazing thing that most people don't understand immediately is that it suggests accurately that talent is equal to mindset. So if you're the most talented player on the team, but your attitude sucks, you will not perform at the top level. Think about that. So it's about balancing talent and mindset and maximizing both. And what Brian and I learned over time was that when you go after talent and help the team drive up their talent, mindset goes with it. They feel valued and it changes everything. And as their talent increases, their mindset goes up. And again, 0 to 10, 0 to 10, multiplied together, get 0 to 100. And it's been pretty amazing. What would you
Yeah.
add there?
Yeah. No, no, I totally agree. It's interesting, and I think most people could probably agree with this if they just take a second and reflect on their own lives, their own performance, and at work especially. Times where you go through maybe stressful situations. It could be times of change. It could be challenging situations that happen. You can sort of feel it within yourself that your own performance sort of diminishes with experiencing those types of things that dramatically impacts your mindset. And then conversely, in those times where, man, you're really cooking on all cylinders, you have some great success, you have some great wins, your mindset's going, you really feel this positive momentum happening. So I think just in general, people can understand that your mindset dramatically impacts your performance, regardless of whatever your talent level is. So I think it's interesting how this equation all fits together.
Yeah, so performance is the outcome of both.
Hmm.
And most people would say talent would trump mindset, I think. The most talented person in the room would win the game. Not true. It takes both of them. So the equation implies that they're equal. Talent and mindset are equal in determining performance. And that's a big deal. So when leaders connect with that, it can totally change your leadership. It can change how you lead. It can change what you focus on. So if you drive up the talent level of your team, the interesting thing Brian and I have found is it increases the mindset. The team feels valued. They feel differently about the organization. They feel someone cares about them greatly. And as you drive up talent, you drive up mindset. And we found that to be absolutely true. And most leaders do not know T times M equals P. Fair to say?
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. I think they're really just sort of they're linked. The two things are really connected.
Well, talent feeds the T feeds the M.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So that's the key right there. And
Right.
it's unknown. As you work with your team and develop them and spend time with them and work with them and teach them, it increases their mindset at the same time. So
Mhm.
you're developing the T, but you're also developing the M.
Right.
And and this is tough in a remote work environment like we live in today. How do you do it? So when Brian and I were coming up through the ranks, we were face to face. We were with our team in person. A flip chart guy, Mark, right?
Yeah.
Every time I showed up, I'd pull out a flip chart and we'd start teaching and
Right.
talking.
Yeah.
But that's maybe it's easier today. I don't know. But it would appear to be more difficult.
Mm.
And we were with the team and we were driving up their talent. And without really knowing it, their mindset was soaring.
Mhm.
This organization cares about me. This organization cares about my development, and their mindset was soaring. The amazing thing we found in working, we've worked with athletes uh, and done T times M equals P with athletes, and the amazing thing is that when they're on their game, it's because mindset's in place. Mindset's equal to talent.
Mm.
So if their mindset slips down below, their talent doesn't matter. So if you look at the equations, think about this for a minute. So if I'm a 9 in talent and a 2 in mindset, I'm an 18 and I'm competing with 70s and 80s and 90s. So I'm the most talented person on the field, on the court, whatever, and I lose. It's because of my mindset. So we each control our own mindset. We have to realize that our talent and our mindset are equal.
Yeah, I think in most organizations, when you look at, whether they're or when their team are really struggling, really failing, and not meeting the expectations, the first thing they do is they go back to talent. They go back, oh, I need to retrain my team. I need to put them through new certification on this. I need to retrain them, whatever. When in some cases, it could perhaps be the mindset. So the team's struggling, so they're not getting the recognition, they're not getting the coaching, they're not getting whatever. So that now their talent levels diminished. So now their mindset and their talent's diminished. And I think this can be that vicious cycle. And when you were talking about sports, it pains me to say this, and you can tell my lamp is no longer lit red behind me. Now that we're post Chiefs Super Bowl, uh,
Wasn't Mahomes there with you? No?
no, but I so wish we would have done this episode beforehand. So it pains me even to bring this up, but I saw this so clear during the Super Bowl. You could see on the sidelines during this when they really struggled with, their offensive line was struggling with protecting Mahomes. Mahomes is struggling with making some passes. Kelsey and some of the receivers were struggling with catch. It was just this whole negative snowball where they might have been one of the most talented teams on the field, but their mindset was not in that game. And you could clearly see it throughout really everything after the first quarter of the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Andy Reid owns that, whatever
Yeah.
created that.
Right. And
So
actually,
that's the key right there.
yeah. And Kelsey, I know, I didn't watch his podcast. I know he does a podcast, and it's one of the top ones. And that was one of the things he mentioned is that he takes responsibility for part of that game because he's a captain on the team, he's a leader on the team, he's a senior person, and he didn't do his job as a senior person in getting people fired up and motivated and overcoming some of those challenges that they've overcome in past Super Bowls, the exact same situation.
Yeah.
And so he actually owned that, which I thought was cool. But you're
Well,
right,
that's great.
Andy Reid really, as the leader of the team, really owns that.
I would have assumed Kelsey would have, given it to Taylor as, her issue. But um, so no, this is a big deal.
Mhm.
So hear me again, leaders. So when I found T times M equals P, I was a young, aggressive, up and coming leader. It changed my career. From that moment forward, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, I was number one forever. No one could touch the numbers.
No, not at all.
A decade would go by and no one could touch the numbers because T times M equals P is reality, and most leaders do not know it. And we learned that from Dean Anderson in Beyond Change Management, and we wouldn't have known it otherwise.
Yeah.
At some point in my career, I found out that, and Brian was part of my team back then, I would just teach all day long. So I would land in a city. Brian was in Minneapolis. I'd land in Minneapolis, and I would teach all week long. Teach, 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 attempting to drive up the talent level of the team, make them better. What happened was it did that as well, but it drove up their mindset. So the market then of Minneapolis and our organization became number one in the company in profit. Number one. Think about that. And I would come there often, and that's all I would do is teach. So as a leader, I connected with the fact that if I worked on the talent of my team, that their mindset would be enhanced. They would feel valued. They would feel better about themselves because they'd go home and they knew more. And the following day, they'd come back and be able to execute at a different level. Do you remember those visits?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And the thing I'd say about that too is that teaching, I think, it's really contagious. So you start to see, talent levels increase, mindset levels increase, and then it sort of creates this whole culture where all the leaders want to become teachers, and they start teaching their teams, and then they see their team's talent level increase, and then as a result, their mindset level increases, and it just is this whole positive momentum that happens from just focusing on some of these basic things.
Yeah, so it's easy to discount T times M equals P as overly simple. It's really right on and it works.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you leverage it in your environment and figure it out as a leader for your team, how to increase their talent level, You will drive up their mindset at the same time. The leader has an incredible impact on mindset. Think about that. If you come to work in a bad mood, take the day off.
Yeah. Yeah,
Block out, whatever that
definitely.
means. Go home. Don't drive down the mindset of your team because it's equal to their talent. You will screw up the numbers, the execution. You'll screw up their T times M equals P for the day. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
We have found that by creating a rhythm to the week, that you can literally, by having an incredible focus on Monday, you can totally blow the week out by driving up the talent and the mindset of the team. Think about that. So we really perfected that to where Monday became absolutely significant. Everyone knew we were going to recap the results and celebrate. We were also going to teach, and we would use T times M equals P to create the week. So 52 times we were measured against our peer group, and we would have had four different, you know, big peer groups at that time,
Mhm.
and they couldn't touch us
Yeah.
because we knew T times M equals P.
Yeah, something I just wrote down there, Mark. When you said rhythm, that really struck a chord. So I love talking about leadership rhythm. I think that's one of the critical elements of any winning team is that a leader has a rhythm, a predictable set of behaviors that the team can count on, can look toward. That is really is the foundation of their entire leadership. And and when you said that, so I was really thinking through. So asking the question to our audience, I guess, is, what is your rhythm for developing talent and developing mindset for your team? Have you thought about that? Do you have a formal process that you think through, plan out, and schedule for?
Yeah, that's huge. That is huge. So the leader's rhythm often drives the mindset of the team, but it will also, if you incorporate it correctly, drive up their talent level. So you've got to have a plan for both because T times M equals P. I got to tell them this story. You ready for a story?
Yeah,
So
always.
the highest person I've ever ranked was 9 by 9. So I've never given a 10 by 10. So sorry about that, Brian.
What? I'm sure it wasn't me anyway.
And I never gave it to myself.
Yeah.
So the highest person I've ever ranked on my team was a 9 by 9. So the most talented, the highest mindset person on the team. So we promoted him and we transferred him to a higher position in another state. And his wife hated it there. So he quickly became a 9 times 2 or so. So an 81 became an 18. Guess what happened to his talent? Do you
Oh,
know?
yeah, it impacted that, I'm sure.
His talent dropped as well. He
Hmm.
no longer did the things because his mindset dropped. He no longer did the things that mattered most that got him to the 9 by 9. So he was an underperformer. So I realized that I was in error and I moved him back to where they wanted to live and gave him the role that he wanted to have. And he was once again a 9 by 9. So I, as the leader, took a 9 by 9 and created a 4 by 2. It was me.
Hmm.
So you have to realize as a leader how that impacts the team. And relocation can be a big deal. Change of position can be a big deal. In either case, you as a leader, once you totally own T times M equals P, you can make great decisions, or you can see where you've made a mistake.
Yeah,
What
that
do you think?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I think, oftentimes we try to say, well, just leave your personal life at home, while you're here at work, focus on work. I don't think that really works, especially if your team members are in a relationship with somebody, a significant other, whatever. We're holistic people, so I think our lives sort of blend together. So being conscious of this stuff, I think, is really critical. Making those sort of promotion decisions, alignment decisions that impact somebody's personal life as well as their professional life, I think can really make a massive impact on their overall performance level.
But I would have never dreamed that a 9x9 could become a 4x2 and
Yeah.
become a 9x9 again. Oh, by the way, he's president of a company today.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who screwed up? I did.
Yeah.
I did. I didn't know T times M equals P.
Yep.
The
That's the
other
whole mirror
thing,
thing you're talking about.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know if they can read the gap, but
Yeah.
um, when things go wrong, it's you. Look in the mirror. Not you, Brian, but you, the leaders listening. The other thing that I've learned is that T times M equals P is a great interview tool. So when I'm interviewing an external candidate, a minimum entry level is 7x7. And I've found 7x7 to be the magic number for the team. If you can get the whole team to 7x7, you create crazy great results. But when I'm interviewing an external candidate, 7x7 is what I'm looking for. And you can literally determine that in the interview if you're thinking about T times M equals P. It's an amazing interview tool. You're assessing their talent and you're assessing their mindset. And if they're not 7x7, external, you don't know them, don't do it. On internals, I've been willing to compromise to a 6x6 because I know them quite a bit better and they may have a longer run to get to where they need to get to. But I use 7x7 and 6x6 is my standard for internal and external. I'm sorry, external and internal.
Mhm.
Does that make sense, Brian? I don't know
Yeah.
if I've told you that before.
Right, right. No, for sure. And what I'd say is with interviews, sometimes it's hard to sort of assess somebody's real mindset level. They'll explain their talent level. They have their resume. They'll be able to walk you through past performance, past successes. One of the things I always recommend for leaders when I've been teaching interview skills is always follow up your initial question if it's around talent. What did you do in this situation? Some sort of situational question like that, behavioral question. Follow up with a mindset question. So, what did you do? And then, how did you feel? And then, along with that, how did the team feel or how did the other person feel? The wrapping emotion into behavior gives you clues on T and M. So, build those probing questions into your interview, guide, I would say.
No, I love that. One of the most amazing things that happened to me is after I learned T times M equals P, I quickly wrote down the numbers of where I thought my team was at. I had about 20 direct reports, so I wrote down the T and the M for my 20 direct reports, what I thought it was. I then matched it up with their results, and oh wow, it aligned beautifully. So from that, I came to learn that as a leader, if you get the entire team, let's say you have 10 people working for you, direct reports, if you can get them to an average of 7x7, you're gonna rock. So I call that the rule of 49. If 49 sounds like a bad number, it's not a bad number. 7x7, the rule of 49 really worked for me. So when I got the entire team to 7x7, we were dominant. I don't know if I've told you that before, but that was the number that worked for me.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, what would you say would be a sort of red flag? If you're looking at your team, if you're looking at maybe a potential candidate, if you saw some sort of red flag there, Mark, when you're trying to do these assessments.
No, that's a great question. So because talent and mindset are equal, if you pick up on a mindset issue, a negativity of some sort, a disappointment of some sort, a career setback of some point of some sort, that can definitely be a red flag. So because talent and mindset are equal, most leaders discount that red flag. They're a very talented person. Look at the jobs they've had. Well, mindset is equal to talent, and everything revolves around those two things to get to the ultimate performance. So I definitely look for that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. Um, the other thing I want to mention here too is that when you're assessing people, there's a temptation to sort of have a global assessment of them, and I think there's a place for that certainly. I also think that there's an opportunity to assess how somebody is rated for performance when it comes to specific roles, projects, areas of responsibility, assignments. You can actually go through and rate T times M equals P for those specific things. So globally, they might have a score of whatever, but for a specific project, if it's not something they're passionate about, man, maybe their mindset's really not in it. Or maybe it's a project that, man, maybe their skill level's not there. They've never done this before, so their talent level's low. So I think there's an opportunity for leaders to also look at more project or role or assignment specific, elements of their team.
Oh, that's an excellent point. So leaders need to include T times M equals P in everything that they do. It sounds overly simple. So I think some leaders just discount it. How could things be that simple? Well, they are. And so, yeah, if somebody is not aligned with a project, don't give it to them. Give it to somebody that is. It will work out better. T and M are equal. That's the part that's unknown out there. It may not be believed. Think about that. Um, Steph Curry just won the NBA All-Star MVP. Is he the highest T or the highest M? He's combined the highest T and M.
Yeah.
It takes both. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
We see it all the time.
it's and this is somewhat unknown out there. So we're literally sharing something with you that we wouldn't have known uh, without finding it, on a page in a book
Hmm.
and then putting it into play. It totally helped us develop Gapology. It came during a time when we were already working on Gapology, and it became a part of it. But it's very real, and it's easily discounted because it sounds too simple. And no, talent is bigger than mindset.
Hmm.
No, they are equal. I wouldn't have agreed with that initially. I would have said no, but talent trumps mindset. No, it doesn't.
Hmm.
They're equal. And as a leader, you control both. You own the T and the M of your team. Own it. You own both. And when you drive up the T, you drive up the M.
Yeah.
It's and we found I haven't worked with you directly on this, but I've been coaching some athletes and tennis players specifically. And when they understand T and M and they're not on their game, it's always an M issue. It's not a T issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
They've got to step up their M, and when they change their M, suddenly they won the match easily.
Hmm.
So it's amazing to me. It's really unknown out there. So we're literally sharing something that you as a leader can, you know, do great things with, and it has had an impact on our careers, and it's huge.
Right.
That's that's all I've got tonight, Brian.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else?
Yeah. Just one last thing to think about, for our viewers is, reflect on what we shared during our our overview of IMBAR. So we talked about mindset there a lot, and mindset and behavior and how that all kind of connects. And so there's some pieces here that I think if you haven't watched that episode, go back and watch that one, and then just really consider what we shared here, and then kind of combine it with some of those elements as well. I think there's some good stuff that you can connect.
Great point.
Yep.
IMBAR is by far and away our most underrated book. Uh, you agree?
Yeah. Well, most maybe our
It,
second most unknown book, but yes,
well, but underrated.
underrated
It's
100% for
crazy good.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
And when you connect with it, you'll understand.
Yeah. So, but I think that's a great place to leave it, Mark. I think that's good. Thank you so much.
Great seeing you.
All right.
Sorry about the Chiefs.
Yeah. I'm still recovering here. So, and so is all of Kansas City, but we'll get through it, and we'll be back next year. So,
Yeah, there's always next year.
absolutely. Thanks so much, and
All right.
thanks to everybody for viewing in, and we'll see you all next time. See ya.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Yep. Have a great one.